We start off at Azurebird Peak, where a man reflects on his day chopping a massive amount of wood. A system window shows a total of 3.65 million pieces. Surprisingly, a window pops up, declaring him the saint of chopping firewood. As he continues chopping, memories of his past life come to mind. In his former life on Earth, he rose to fame as a talented youngster through a talent show. But he chose to go against his agency's wishes, which led to his downfall, ending in depression and his death. After being reborn, he'd hoped for a different life, but fate had other plans. He got a strange system called the Firewood Chopping System, with one job, chopping firewood. Despite gaining the title, Saint of Chopping Wood, he couldn't progress further. Suddenly, a student approached with the news. The Front Mountain Palace examination had begun, and he needed to select disciples. However, he doubted he would get any with his current skills. Hungry, he decided to check on a dragon in the Kangwu Abyss. At the enrollment plaza, people were eager to become disciples of swordsman Jiang Heming. Nobody wanted to be with Bai Luochen, who was currently absent. Jiang Heming complained about Bai Luochen not getting any disciples for a decade. The academy headmaster defended Bai Luochen, reminding everyone of his sacrifices. However, the crowd felt Bai Luochen was unfit to teach. Bai Luochen appeared and others started mocking him for his weak cultivation. A young girl from the crowd noticed an ominous aura coming from Bai Luochen. Jiang Heming then made a bet with Bai Luochen. If Bai Luochen got a disciple, he would give him a pill that could treat his broken cultivation. Bai Luochen refused and tried to go home. Jiang Heming started complaining to the headmaster about Bai Luochen's laziness and offered to be his disciple, even though others mocked her. Plan to plant a spy on his department. He then asked the headmaster to let Bai Luochen accept the girl as a disciple. Bai Luochen wondered why the girl wanted to become his disciple. She was a reincarnated immortal who failed her cultivation. As an ex-immortal, she knew that the snake Bai Luochen was holding was about to become a dragon and would be hard to subdue. Jiang Heming sarcastically congratulated Bai Luochen and left. The girl introduced herself as Su Liyue. Bai Luochen found the situation troublesome, but still accepted Su Liyue as his disciple. As they arrived at Azurebird Peak, Su Liyue wondered why the others were mocking a big guy like Bai Luochen. However, Bai Luochen prepared 2 books for Su Liu to follow. He wanted Su Liu to learn things at her own pace and warned it. He then showed the disciples' quarters, and Su Liyue started thinking of transferring departments. Su Liyue caught a whiff of the delicious smell and couldn't believe an immortal beast was being roasted just like that. Seeing Bai Luochen enjoying the meat, Su Liyue drooled and went outside. She seductively asks for some meat, but Bai Luochen coldly refuses. Su Liyue imagines being laughed at by other beautiful immortals. Su Liyue was on the verge of crying and tried to leave. Bai Luochen called her back and plucked out a string of meat from the roasted snake meat. He told Su Liyue to lick it. Despite hesitating a bit, Su Liyue took a lick with her long tongue and suddenly felt something. She felt a surge of rich spiritual energy. She can't believe a small bite contained half a year of cultivation. With her current cultivation level, her body would explode if she ate the meat directly. Su Liyue then thanked Bai Luochen, who casually reminded her to limit herself to 1 lick per day. They even brought something that could make the horse fall asleep. Just then, Bai Luochen came outside to feed the horse. He recalled how he got it when it was still small. After some short bonding, but Su Liyue skillfully knocked the attacker down with a high kick. The 2 attackers returned to report to their senior, He Xiangsheng. He gave his juniors the treatment and went out. The next morning, Bai Luochen asked the sleep-deprived Su Liyue how the book was. Su Liyue was spent only after reading half a page of the book. She then confessed to Bai Luochen about her progress. Upon hearing that, Bai Luochen stopped chopping wood. Su Liyue can't help but look disappointed in herself. She felt proud that someone read half a page of his book overnight. To access better scripts, the token must be leveled up through taking quests or participating in the disciples' trial. As an ex-immortal, Su Liyue doesn't need the token at all since she has not lacked scriptures for thousands of years. Bai Luochen's book was all she needed. Just then, people were calling out Su Liyue for her offense. Officers from the law enforcement hall asked for Su Liyue since someone reported her breaking the rules. Bai Luochen then asked Liyue's actions accidental too. The officer then asked again to hand over his disciple, but Bai Luochen let out bloodlust. He Xiangsheng used this chance to relate Bai Luochen to the crime. The officers came down and warned Bai Luochen. They then attacked, but Bai Luochen tapped Su Liyue so he could see her progress. Su Liyue quickly dodged the initial attacks and realized why her master let her fight them instead. She can see that they were too weak to take on Bai Luochen. An explosion occurred, but it was ineffective against Su Liyue. She attacked with Thunderbirds and defeated the officers. Seeing her attribute, Bai Luochen planned to get something for her later. Su Liyue was not done and threw a rune at He Xiangsheng. The officer then threatened Bai Luochen for going against them. However, Bai Luochen claimed that it would be the three of them. With one word from Bai Luochen, they all kneel, and just then they received a call from an elder, and the two flew out immediately. Next morning, Bai Luochen got irritated that no one came to apologize. He finished his meal and checked on Su Liyue. The disciple noticed pieces of wood flying toward her and easily fended them off. Bai Luochen commended Su Liyue and asked her to watch the place, leaving a seal to be used against intruders. Bai Luochen arrived at Kangwu Abyss, where the demon race resides. Bai Luochen worries that Su Liyue won't be able to defeat one yet. He decided to look for a lightning attribute demon king and ask him for his stuff. Its department is just a female pet of the academy. She recalled her senior sister as she accepted her fate. Bai Luochen told her to hit the man's Danzhong point. Yunruo moved again, incapacitated her assaulter for a second, and left a hole in his body. Because his sister Yue was training clumsy students. Bai Luochen gave her instructions but failed to hit the assaulter. Yunruo would have almost been murdered if Bai Luochen hadn't restricted the attacker so she could murder him. However, Yunruo needed information from the attacker about her senior sister's whereabouts. The formless boundary sect wouldn't sit idly. She then asked Yunruo for something that her senior sister owned. He then made a spirit bird to find the senior sister. The spirit bird then arrived in front of a pit where Yunruo's sister fell. Just then, she heard Yunruo's voice. Yunruo was glad that her senior sister was still alive, so bubbles wrapped around her and brought her to the surface. Yunqi tried to refuse, but Yunruo thanked Bai Luochen and forced the pill into her sister's mouth. Yunqi was instantly healed. Bai Luochen then asked why the two were in Kangwu Abyss. Meanwhile, Su Liyue, who just finished reading a page of Bai Luochen's book, sensed an intruder. Cheng Kun flew over Azure Bird Peak and swore to punish Bai Luochen and Su Liyue. Back in Kangwu Abyss, Bai Luochen learned that the sisters were chasing the ice silkworm demon, so they could fix their master's instrument. Bai Luochen also needs to catch it since it has a lightning attribute. At Azure Bird Peak, Cheng Kun called out to Bai Luochen, but Su Liyue informed him that her master was away. He ordered Su Liyue to kneel since she broke the rules by hurting other disciples, but Su Liyue had never heard of such things. Cheng Kun then attacked Su Liyue, but the latter claimed she did nothing wrong. Cheng Kun then continued attacking to make her kneel. He was surprised to see Su Liyue burn her own realm to defend herself. He could see that Su Liyue was a threat to them and ordered Yin Hai to murder her. Yin Hai tried to talk things out with Su Liyue, but the latter refused to beg for mercy and was already prepared to throw an attack at Cheng Kun. Just then, a horse tackled Yin Hai out of nowhere. Cheng Kun can see why He Xiangsheng was obsessed with the horse, since it was a spirit demon all along. The horse, Wu Zai, stood in front to protect Su Liyue. Cheng Kun tied Wu Zai's neck and pulled it in. Cheng Kun covered his fist with spiritual energy and shattered Wu Zai's core. Su Liyue helplessly watched Wu Zai lie down in his own blood. She cursed out Cheng Kun, who immediately landed to confront her. Su Liyue used this chance to attack with her Moon Fairy Wheel. However, the attack was ineffective since Cheng Kun had prepared a treasure to protect himself. Su Liyue's spiritual energy was depleted. Cheng Kun roped her in and grabbed her neck. Su Liyue threatened Cheng Kun that Bai Luochen wouldn't let him live. Cheng Kun has also had the same goal since the start. Wu Zai got back on its feet, but Su Liyue told it to stay away. She then remembered the talisman left by Bai Luochen and pulled it out. Cheng Kun laughed since a mere paper couldn't help them. Suddenly, the talisman glowed. Cheng Kun got thrown away as a spirit bird appeared from the talisman. It quickly appeared behind Cheng Kun and swallowed him. The bird exploded, and Cheng Kun's protective treasure was destroyed. Yin Hai appeared to help Cheng Kun and gave him recovery pills. Angered, Cheng Kun dashed towards Su Liyue with the intent to murder her. Just when Su Liyue expected her end, Bai Luochen appeared to block the attack for her. However, it was a strong clone that grabbed hold of Cheng Kun, and the real Bai Luochen tended to Su Liyue's condition. Bai Luochen controlled his clone and smashed Cheng Kun's head to the ground. A higher-ranked instructor was being smashed as a clone, and his disciple could only watch his blood splatter. Yin Hui tried to ask Bai Luochen to stop, but our protagonist trapped the disciple instead. Meanwhile, Cheng Kun noticed that he was being healed while the clone hit him. The clone then struck Cheng Kun one more time, causing a shockwave. The clone delivered the smashed instructor to his disciples and claimed that they should be thankful to Li Guangyi, whom Bai Luochen respected. He told them to leave, but Yun Hai helped Cheng Kun recover first. Cheng Kun didn't want to give up and tried to bring out something. Bai Luochen continued healing the apologetic Su Liyue and Wu Zai. Bai Luochen claimed it was not her fault. Chung Kun suddenly brought out a griffin and ordered it to attack Bai Luochen. However, a spirit in Bai Luochen's bag scared the feathers out of the huge chicken and flew away. Just then, the sisters from before finally arrived, and Bai Luochen asked them to take care of Su Liyue. Bai Luochen then claimed that he never left the Azure Bird Peak, but he was still being bothered by others. Chung Kun's eyes widened as he watched Bai Luochen bring out a blood-rapturing talisman. Scared, Chung Kun flew away, but Bai Luochen's clone smacked him back to the ground. Chung Kun warned Bai Luochen about divine retribution, but Bai Luochen claimed it was Chung Kun's retribution instead. He used the talisman on Chung Kun, and thick blood covered him. Yin Hai could only watch in fear as his master was reduced to nothingness. The sisters who were watching were too shocked to see such a sight. Yin Hai then kneeled as he accepted his fate. Bai Luochen raised his hand and cut Yin Hai's hair instead. He didn't want anyone to tell anyone else about what happened and told him to leave Qinglin Peak with the disciple kneeling at the entrance. Yun Ruo then noticed the master and disciple talking and dragged her sister away since they were getting in the way. The two wave goodbye as they swear to visit often. Su Liyue got worried about seeing more rivals. Just then, Bai Luochen noticed something in the sky. With a glare, the horrifying entity was destroyed. Ignoring Su Liyue's question, he knew someone was spying on Azure Bird Peak. An old man was crying as he just watched how his nephew got obliterated. The supreme leader then ordered his men to mess up the trial exam for Su Liyue. Tu Wangsheng from the law enforcement hall confirmed that arrangements were made. Back at Azure Bird Peak, Bai Luochen gifted Su Liyue a friendly ice silkworm. Su Liyue was confused about how her master got a demon king to be obedient to him. Since it has lightning and water attributes, it would be helpful to Su Liyue's cultivation. Su Liyue felt touched and hugged Bai Luochen. He reminded his disciple that the big test was coming and claimed that she could bring the ice silkworm with her. Since bringing a demon king was considered cheating, Bai Luochen suppressed the ice silkworm's realm. Bai Luochen then started suppressing the demon king's realm, but Su Liyue could see that its cultivation was rising instead. The suppression was done, and out of the cocoon, Mi Ming introduced herself. Su Liyue got excited since she assumed all demon kings were horrendous looking. Mi Ming wondered if Su Liyue had met demon kings in the past, but the ex-immortal claimed she only saw them in books. Meanwhile, Bai Luochen was checking on something. He then told the two girls to rest for the day as he tried to analyze the jade stone he got from Mi Ming. Just then, the system showed a new quest. He would get rewards if his disciple broke through in 5 days and came out on top of the trial exam. Bai Luochen was confused since the system had only given wood-chopping tasks so far. He felt suspicious, but the system insisted on accepting the quest. The rewards were useless for him, but he could just give it to his disciple. Bai Luochen went to sleep and a glowing woman suddenly appeared. She touched Bai Luochen's cheeks and hoped that she could meet him at that moment. 5 days later, Zhang Heming and some disciples noticed someone roasting nearby. It was Salt Bai Luochen. He was roasting the strange bird he encountered a while ago. Bro, it was obviously an angel. Zhang Heming started complaining since the area was designated for the trial exams. Disciples were talking about how Yun Hai and He Xiangsheng went missing. Just then, a disciple noticed the beauty of our Su Liyue. However, Feng Shu felt bad that a talented person like Su Liyue chose a cripple as her master. He tried to get her attention but was ignored. She was more attracted to the meat being roasted, but Bai Luochen refrained from eating it because of the meat's massive spiritual qi. Feng Shu felt offended for being ignored, but his instructor, Yu Wangxiang, tried to calm him down. Just then, the Four Arts Department, known for its beautiful disciples, appeared. Their instructor, Moon Xuanzhou, his beauty was enough to flip the personality of Yu Wangxiang. However, she ignored him and went to Bai Luochen instead to thank him for saving her disciples. Su Liyu became agitated again since another rival had appeared. Meanwhile, it was Feng Shu's turn to calm down Yu Wangxiang. Just then, the task elder announced the start of the trial exams and their rules. Participants should collect points for 2 days by finding treasures, destroying demons, or stealing other participants' tokens. If someone endangers another's life, Grandfather Ai will punish them. The task elder officially announced the start of the trials. Su Liyue bade farewell, but she felt like not going since Moon Xuanzhou was sticking too much to her master. Moon Xuanzhou wondered why Bai Luochen was not that worried about Su Liyue. He knew that Su Liyue could do it since she was his disciple. Later at the Secret Realm, a disciple was complaining about how people looked down on the talisman department. He was being chased by Su Liyue and had his token taken away. Su Liyue is currently ranked 47th and has eliminated 6 people so far. Mi Meng then gestured in directions, but Su Liyue told her to talk normally since no one was around. Mi Meng complained and mentioned that Bai Luochen told her to pretend to be a spirit. Seeing Mi Meng pouting, Su Liyue decided to go in the direction she pointed. A mark suddenly appeared behind Su Liyue, and she didn't know that she was being stalked. Soon after, people witnessed a live broadcast of Feng Shu getting crushed by Su Liyue. Mun Xuanzhou got worried that Su Liyue would attract unnecessary attention. He only mentioned that the weak would care for strangers, but the strong would be confident in their own power. Mun Xuanzhou can't say Bai Luochen was still the same person who held up the heavens and looked down upon the world 10 years ago. Bai Luochen just laughed it off. Just then, an ominous-looking bell rang, and the live broadcast was cut off. The staff panicked since they had also lost connection with Grandfather Ai. A huge clash of qi was detected inside the secret realm, and disciples from the formation department were sent inside. A blue talisman also went through the portal, and Bai Luochen doesn't want to play nice anymore. Inside the realm, two masters confronted Su Liyue. They were He Shiling and Lu Shu from the enforcement hall. These bastards again. Su Liyue tried to fight back, but her attacks were easily nullified. The two attackers then went for the murder. Su Liyue asked for Mi Meng's help and repelled the attackers, freezing one of them. Mi Meng told the attackers to get lost since Su Liyue was under her protection. The attackers fled after seeing her size, and Mi Meng claimed she was only doing this since it was Bai Luochen's orders. She then returned to her smaller form and got excited for more treasure hunting. A few days ago, Mi Meng was helping Su Liyue recover. However, the method was somehow provocative enough to make Su Liyue moan out loud. Mi Meng also drew something on Su Liyue that looked like a womb tattoo. Somewhere in the forest, Lu Xiu was trying to defrost He Shiling. Just then, someone appeared, calling them guilty for their crimes. Bai Luochen's clone appeared to murder them. Above, another strange creature was watching them. Bai Luochen hoped they wouldn't blame him for being ruthless. He destroyed the creature, and the supreme leader, who was in seclusion, started bleeding. He can't believe Bai Luochen's strength has recovered. Meanwhile, Mi Meng and Su Liyue went inside a ruined cave. Mi Meng kept complaining that they couldn't find anything at all and blamed Su Liyue. Su Liyue snapped back at Mi Meng, who suddenly fired off an attack. However, the attack was meant for the poison maggots behind Su Liyue. Mi Meng told Su Liyue to be thankful, but the latter was too focused on the fact that poison maggots were in the area. It would mean that there were treasures nearby. She then attacked a wall, and a huge door appeared. Su Liyue felt the place was familiar, and suggested going back, but Mi Meng was confident to proceed. Mi Meng attacked and asserted her title as a demon king. However, her attack was ineffective, so she brought out more attacks. Still, the door didn't get a single scratch. While Mi Meng was kicking the door out of frustration, Su Liyue noticed a tablet where one could place their hand. She placed her hand on the door, and it opened. A tall and ominous pillar was in the middle of the room, and Su Liyue couldn't help but feel its familiarity. She suddenly remembered that this was the place where she sealed herself up in her previous life. She was too late to warn Mi Meng, and the seal started breaking. Suddenly, strange things started happening in the secret realm, making the portals act weird, and the staff reported that the Demon Emperor had awakened. Everyone panicked despite the Task Elder's orders. The headmaster then received the report, and ordered to send teleportation arrays inside to save all disciples. The Yun sisters barely escaped, and Bai Luochen asked if they saw Su Liyue. Mun Xuanzhou can see that the disciples were transported alongside their masters. That would mean that Su Liyue was in trouble. The Demon Emperor Dong Shu was awakened from his seal. He started releasing malicious spiritual qi, and Mi Meng can only protect Su Liyue. He noticed Su Liyue and attacked, but Mi Meng put up a shield. Dong Shu wondered why his kind was protecting a human. Mi Meng then claimed that Su Liyu was being raised as a pet by demons. Mi Meng told Su Liyu not to worry since she had her way and attacked Su Liyue out of nowhere. But she had a clone help Su Liyue escape. However, Dong Shu heard their whispers and threatened Mi Meng. He attacked Mi Meng with the intent to murder. Mi Meng then made ice picks and stabbed herself to activate the prohibition that Bai Luochen gave her. Meanwhile, dead disciples were being turned into monsters by some strange vines. The headmaster appeared with his disciples and slaughtered some of them. Since they were outnumbered, they deployed a spirit sword formation. The headmaster ordered Zhang Heming to help the disciples and their masters teleport back, and Zhang Heming suggested sending Bai Luochen back first since he was weak. The headmaster agreed, but Mun Xuanzhou claimed that Bai Luochen was also a master who worried for his disciple. The headmaster sighed and asked Mun Xuanzhou to join Bai Luochen, Meanwhile, Dongshu was attacked out of nowhere. Bai Luochen's clone was responsible for the attack. The clone detected the prohibition and started an annihilation command. The clone made a black hole and threw it toward Dongshu. In the ruins, Mi Meng's corpse stood still, and a maggot crawled out of the ice corpse's mouth. The maggot grew large, became a cocoon, and a new Mi Meng came out. She complained about how Bai Luochen placed the prohibition in her chest area. It was a good thing she had her ice silkworm shell. Just then, her small clone led her somewhere. Mi Meng discovered an infected Su Liyue and tried to ignore it since she was already a target of the Demon Emperor. Her restrictions were gone, and she shouldn't be Bai Luochen's pet. However, Mi Meng started to recall memories of Su Liyue and carried her out of the area. Su Liyue started acting like a starving monster and bit Bai Luochen. The master let his disciple bite him hard until Su Liyue's consciousness returned. Su Liyue apologized because Bai Luochen was not infected instead of her. However, it was not a threat to him, and the system activated an antivirus program. Inside Bai Luochen's body, a fragment of Dongshu was trying to take over his body. However, the system instantly annihilated him. That night, Su Liyue noticed how her eyesight had gotten worse. She felt bad for being a burden to her master and Mi Meng. Mi Meng appeared, and Su Liyue made a joke that she had become a cyclops, but Mi Meng smacked her for making a bad joke. The two went to bed as Mi Meng swore to protect Su Liyue properly in the future. The next morning, Su Liyue kept sneezing while training. Mi Meng thought that she might be at fault for using ice. Bai Luochen then decided to visit the Four Arts Department to get Su Liyue treated. The next day at the Four Arts Department's bath, Mi Meng noticed that Su Liyue had the treasures and asked for her share. Su Liyue claimed that Mi Meng had already gotten something from their master and threw her and her clothes into the basket. Su Liyue entered the comfortable bath, and the Yun sisters joined her. The girls started playing around. Su Liyue noticed some small demons. Yun Shi explained that the starlings helped keep the water clean. However, they were just some perverted demons who drank women's used bathwater. A vice instructor named Liu Quier appeared and called Su Liyue a country bumpkin. She claimed Su Liyue was barbaric and uneducated, just like her master. She then showed how to use the starlings properly. The starlings pushed each other to clean Liu Quier's feet. She then mentioned that she saw Bai Luochen entering Moon Xuanzhou's room. Meanwhile, Bai Luochen claimed that what Moon Xuanzhou was asking him to do was inappropriate. Moon Xuanzhou claimed that Bai Luochen liked roasting food indoors. However, Bai Luochen mentioned it was about a man and a woman staying alone in a room together. Moon Xuanzhou then recalled how Bai Luochen would always flip her skirt during their childhood. Bai Luochen then asked what Moon Xuanzhou needed from him. She requested that he bring her disciples to a secret realm for training. She needed someone to watch over the newly discovered realm. Bai Luochen claimed that he was a cripple, but Moon Xuanzhou wouldn't buy his reason. The two continued discussing closely until the disciples barged into the room. Moon Xuanzhou was only whispering to Bai Luochen, but Su Liyue misunderstood and dragged her master away. The Yun sisters congratulated their master. Back at the Azure Bird Peak, Su Liyue pulled off a new skill, and Bai Luochen commended her for her progress. Still, he reminded her not to rush things and to remove any malicious thoughts from her head. Just then, Su Liyue grabbed and pushed down Bai Luochen, asking him to make a baby with her. Bai Luochen tried to stop his disciples' advances. Su Liyue wondered if she was not as good as Moon Xuanzhou. Bai Luochen claimed that he doesn't look at his senior sister that way. He agreed that Su Liyue was pretty, but he preferred her normal self. He then made Su Liyue fall asleep, and she sighed. The next day, Bai Luochen met Moon Xuanzhou's disciples. He reminded Su Liyue not to be greedy for treasure. Apparently, Su Liyue can remember what she did the previous night. She reminded herself to focus on becoming immortal. Bai Luochen can't help but worry. Just then, Yun Ruo reported that someone was attacking outside. It was a group led by Kang Mingxiu, an elder from the Blissful Palace. She turned out to be someone who betrayed the Four Arts Department. Seeing Yun Ruo talk back to her, Kang Mingxiu attacked with her instrument. However, Bai Luochen stopped the attack and grabbed the instrument, claiming it as his own. Everyone was surprised that an instrument betrayed its owner. Bai Luochen played the flute, and everyone was mesmerized by the music. Kang Mingxiu then brought out demonic eels as she asked for her flute back. But her attacks were ineffective and rebounded instead. A disciple caught Kang Mingxiu with perverted thoughts. Seeing them retreat, Bai Luochen decided to give the flute to Yun Ruo. The other girls complained about how biased Bai Luochen was, but the uncle told everyone to look for better treasures in the realm instead. He asked Su Liyue to do the same too, but he was ignored. Mi Meng wondered if something had happened between the two. The secret realm opened, and Bai Luochen noticed that the talisman he used on Su Liyue had already been lifted off. Meanwhile, a disciple was monitoring their moves using a snake. She reported to Kang Mingxiu, who had just beaten down the disciple who took advantage of her. She then ordered her disciples to head inside too, and they chanted for their blissful rebirth. Meanwhile, Bai Luochen received a quest from the system to defeat the Soul Ancestor. In the nearby mountains, an explosion happened as Yunro faced off with another hot disciple from the Blissful Palace. The hottie attacked with tentacles, and Yunro quickly used the flute to create a shield. However, it was useless, and Yunro got entangled with tentacles. The woman started playing with Yunro's body. Yunro then used Bai Luochen's talisman to call for help. Seeing that, the woman started punishing Yunro and brought out more toys to use. Just then, a roasted fish came flying and pierced the woman. Bai Luochen came at the right time to save her. Before they moved to look for the others, they noticed a strange flying spirit. Bai Luochen caught it and explained that it was a soul wasp that the Blissful Palace used to gather souls. He claimed they must make haste to find the others. Meanwhile, Su Liyue kept receiving lightning strikes somewhere. Mimeng's sudden appearance scared her, but Mimeng pointed out that Su Liyue was the one scaring all the monsters away. She called her an idiot for making herself receive lightning strikes. Su Liyue claimed that this was one way to reach immortality and catch up with Bai Luochen. Mimeng wondered why she was so adamant about catching up to her master. Su Liu can only blush. Suddenly, Kang Mingxiu appeared and told them to act well, or they would suffer. Mimeng let out her imposing spiritual qi as a demon emperor. Kang Mingxiu then called for something, and a huge hammer dropped out of nowhere. Mimeng recognized the demonic power and tried to warn Su Liyue, but she was punched so hard that she flew a distance. She asked Su Liyue to call for Bai Luochen. Su Liyue finally noticed the high concentration of demonic energy. The members of the Blissful Palace then greet their sixth elder, a small bunny girl with a huge hammer named Chang Xiaoliu. Soon after, Su Liyue woke up and discovered herself all tied up inside a cave. She noticed a ritual going on, and the 4 department disciples were tied up too. She tried destroying the binds, but Mimeng told her that her ice silk was her masterpiece. She asked why Mimeng betrayed her, but the demon claimed that she was now following the stronger Chang Xiaolu. However, Mimeng was also bound by her own ice silk. The two kept making a ruckus with themselves, and Chang Xiaolu told them to be quiet. Just then, Kang Mingxiu exclaimed that the souls were not enough for their ritual. 2 masters named Zi Ling and Yang Cheng can't believe the Blissful Palace only prepared a few hundred souls. Kang Mingxiu then ordered the others to bring in the girls from the 4 arts department. Su Liyue was panicking, but Mimeng told her to watch first. A lightning shield appeared to protect the girls, and Mimeng tried to feign ignorance. Kang Mingxiu asked Chang Xiaoliu for help. The demon refused since Kang Mingxiu only asked to help Mimeng with 1 cassia twig. Chang Mingxiu was in a pinch since they had a few left. Yang Cheng wondered why Kang Mingxiu was distressed. He then used the souls of other Blissful Palace disciples. Kang Mingxiu then brought out a cassia twig, and Zi Ling warned her. Just then, the seal broke, and a hand rose from a pile of skulls. The one released was the disaster-causing Earth Immortal Soul Ancestor, Yun Huang. Yang Cheng and Zi Ling quickly greeted him. Yun Huang then noticed Kang Mingxiu's cultivation and absorbed it from her. Kang Mingxiu used the cassia twig, and Chang Xiaolu helped her. Kang Mingxiu then used a talisman to create an escape portal. Mimeng used this chance to escape, but Chang Xiaolu noticed them and took Su Liyue. The rabbit girl then follows Kang Mingxiu, leaving Mimeng behind. Yun Huang couldn't believe someone escaped right in front of him and decided to absorb the souls of the girls from the 4 arts department. Mimeng, who was protecting them, wondered why Bai Luochen had not arrived yet. Just then, the ceiling broke, and a familiar war axe appeared. Yun Huang sweated as he looked at Bai Luochen, who claimed to be the main character. Yun Huang can sense that Bai Luochen has a lower cultivation realm, but he can't see his skills. Bai Luochen can't believe Blissful Palace's efforts were to revive an old man. Yun Huang got offended and attacked. Bai Luochen then used a divine talisman to fight back, and Yun Huang was surprised. After Bai Luochen claimed his higher status, Yun Huang created a domain that rendered talismans useless. Bai Luochen got swallowed up in the soul swamp and tried to use talismans. However, they were useless, and he got attacked instead. He got annoyed and asked the system for an explanation about the domain. The system then explained that the domain helped the user to basically become a god in that area. However, Bai Luochen found a loophole. He then used his war axe to attack the swamp, and Yun Huang got injured. Yun Huang asked what Bai Luochen was holding. Bai Luochen claimed that it was only the usual wood-chopping axe. He then chopped Yun Huang while claiming that the ancestor looked like wood. Outside, the others can see that someone will come out. and Ziling assumes that their ancestor was victorious. However, Bai Luochen came out unscathed while holding the ancestor's head and threw it like trash. The head exploded, and Yang Cheng died. Ziling then started pleading for her life, but Bai Luochen wanted her arrested and interrogated. Bai Luochen then looked for Su Liyue and caught the escaping Mi Meng. A blind disciple named Tang Dudu claimed that she sensed that a demon master had brought Su Liyue to the blissful palace. Meanwhile, Su Liyue woke up somewhere and noticed someone who clearly recognized her as the celestial Kai Xiu. Thousands of years ago, Kai Xiu mentioned to her sister Manmin that she just had an epiphany on how to break through. She claimed that they were cultivating the wrong way, and that they could ascend by murdering the 3 corpses, or demons, inside a person's body. However, Kai Xiu was only hysterical due to qi deviation and mistook her origin spirits as demons. Manmin tried to stop her, but Kai Xiu attacked her with a piercing blade. Kai Xiu then destroyed her second origin spirit and claimed that she was ascending. However, she noticed that it was not enough. She looked for her third origin spirit, but Manman had already escaped with it. Manman hid as she healed herself and protected Kai Xiu's last origin spirit. Kai Xiu kept looking for her and used her immortal weapon to eat the sun. Man noticed it, and a giant clam appeared from a lake. While inside the armored clam, Manman attacked Kai Xiu, but Kai Xiu easily destroyed her attack and even sliced the clam in half. Manman escaped as she just got a taste of Kai Xiu's infamous immortal weapon. Kai Xiu then decided to chop down everything to find Manman. Countless mountains were destroyed and Manman finally appeared. She then used a mystic technique and called Kai Xiu crazy. Kai Xiu called her the same since Manman wouldn't go with her to ascend. Manman then decided to make them both unable to ascend by using a mystic technique. Kai Xiu fought back with her immortal weapon, and the 2 attacks clashed, wiping out everything in the area. Manman claimed she won, and that she would bring her best friend back to normal. Kai Xiu cried her eyes out as she murdered her best friend. That was all the reply that Su Liyue just watched, and she tried to deny that it was her. Manman asked Su Liyue not to take the wrong path again. Su Liyue can't believe Manman became a corpse immortal. The place suddenly rumbled, and Manman ordered Cheng Xiaolu to check outside. The rumbling was caused by Bai Luochen, who was looking for his disciple. The leader of Blissful Palace, Shi Zuo, claimed that he was too late because Su Liyue had already become their lord's food. Bai Luochen then decided to murder them, but Shi Zuo summoned Cheng Xiaolu with a cassia twig. Bai Luochen wondered if Cheng Xiaolu was the lord they were talking about, but the rabbit girl just cursed him out and even mocked him. Bai Luochen got mad and grabbed Cheng Xiaolu. He then started spanking the rabbit girl with an emperor's spirit. The demon couldn't help but scream out loud as Bai Luochen smacked her bottom. Cheng Xiaolu cursed him out, but Bai Luochen continued his strikes. In the end, the rabbit girl confessed that they were on the same side and she only owed the Blissful Palace, but it was already over. While the 2 bantered, Shi Zuo used the chance to attack them with a formation meant for murder. The 2 got grabbed by Shi Zuo's Bodhi and laughed her lungs out due to her victory. Shi Zuo then opened her mouth and let her formation eat the 2 who were captured. However, Bai Luochen claimed it wouldn't be easy to murder him and disintegrate the Bodhi's hands. Seeing the spikes below and her weapon not responding, Cheng Xiaolu knew she was dying. Just then, Bai Luochen saved her. Shi Zuo couldn't believe the 2 escaped and regenerated her Bodhi to attack them again. Seeing that it could be regenerated, Bai Luochen launched countless blades to chop the Bodhi. Shi Zuo enjoyed the pain and ascended, changing her appearance in the process. Using her blood and flesh, she attacked the 2 and penetrated Bai Luochen's shield. While they were captured, Bai Luochen was calmly thinking of a solution. Cheng Xiaolu was violated by the tentacles in the meantime and can't use her aura at all. Shi Zuo claimed that her flesh could absorb one's aura and planned to suck the rabbit girl dry. Shi Zuo is just a hand puppet with an aura. Bai Luochen then gave Shi Zuo to Cheng Xiaolu. She couldn't believe the sudden surge of spiritual energy and asked Bai Luochen how a hand puppet could have so much energy. Since Shi Zuo was still connected to the Earth's veins, she was a walking, unlimited source of power that his disciple could use later. Cheng Xiaolu smirked and started licking Shi Zuo all over. Manman was surprised that someone was breaking in. She reminded Su Liyue about her path once again. Bai Luochen and Cheng Xiaolu arrived, and Manman finally met Su Liyue's master. Manman asked Bai Luochen to advise Su Liyu too. However, Bai Luochen didn't care what path his disciple would take. However, he reminded Su Liyue that one's universe is one heart, and that is what he has been teaching Su Liyue. Manman exclaimed that Su Liyue might re-encounter qi deviation. Bai Luochen claimed that he would be there for her, but Manman didn't believe him. He then exclaimed that he was Su Liyue's master, and he dragged Manman with him into his domain, where stumps of wood looked like corpses. Manman wondered what they were, and Bai Lushan claimed that they were wood they chopped in his lifetime. Manman can see that the corpses were mostly in a higher realm. Bai Luochen then cancelled the domain and asked Manman to trust her. Manman can now see why Su Liyue adored him. Bai Luochen then wondered if Kang Mingxiu was Manman's people, and undid her hiding technique after detecting her holy weapon. Manman didn't even notice it. Kang Mingxiu then threatened him with her sect's blood and flesh formation. He then wondered if it was the puppet Cheng Xiaolu was holding. Kang Mingxiu then brought out a jade from her melons, and Manman exclaimed not to let her break it. The jade breaks and Manman loses control of herself since the chains are also broken. Manman suddenly turned into a huge monster, and Chang Xiaolu claimed that her boss was being devoured by death qi. Manman glared at them, and Kang Mingxiu celebrated as if they were going to die. Manman attacked everyone, but Bai Luochen kept up his golden barrier. Chang Xiaolu worries since it took 3 higher stage immortals to seal her boss before. Kang Mingxiu kept cursing them out, so Bai Luochen gagged her mouth. Manman attacked to seal them, and Bai Luochen was impressed. He then attacked with a talisman, which he pasted on Manman's forehead. An explosion occurred, and Manman found Bai Luochen buried in between her melons. Manman got flustered, noticing that Bai Luochen was licking her chest, and reminded Bai Luochen that her body had already turned into a zombie. Bai Luochen pulled out and claimed that he had found the problem. Manman realized that he was not lusting for her corpse. Bai Luochen only pulled something from her and destroyed it. He then told Manman to talk later and went to confront Kang Mingxiu. Since they were in the same sect, Bai Luochen spared her life, but he inscribed something on Kang Mingxiu, and her sea of qi got crippled. Going back to the other girls, Bai Luochen noticed the rabbit girl shouting. He wondered what was wrong, and Manman immediately knelt in front of him. She asked to be his disciple. Bai Luochen tried to reject her, but the system triggered a world task. His disciples must reach the Earth's immortal realm, or his powers and system will be gone. Soon after, a weak Cheng Mingxiu traveled through the forest and encountered Yang Cheng. Cheng Mingxiu assumed that Bai Luochen doesn't let go of anyone easily, and asked who the Yang Cheng in front of her really was. Yang Cheng's head twisted, and Yun Huang's face appeared. The next thing we heard was Kang Mingxiu's screams. Back at the Azure Bird Peak, a coffin appeared, and Bai Luochen was glad that they brought it with them. He then ordered Chang Xiaolu to bring in Manman to treat her. Mi Meng noticed them, and she wondered why the monster brought another monster back. She recalled tricking the rabbit to save her life, but now she was discovered by the same monster. Chang Xiaolu prepared to beat up Mi Meng since she was experiencing diarrhea because of her. Meanwhile, Bai Luochen used a treasure to absorb the corpse's energy from Manman's body. Since the absorption rate was slow, Bai Luochen asked the girls to undress. He claimed it was the only way, and the 2 inexperienced girls were worried about their first time in bed. The 2 then started stripping everything and embarrassingly called for Bai Luochen's attention. Bai Luochen then noticed them and exclaimed that they should leave some undergarments. The 2 girls were shocked because they misunderstood. Bai Luochen asked if they really looked at him like some predator. Su Liyue apologized for having impure thoughts. Bai Luochen then told them the method to save Manman. He needs a person in the middle to transfer his yang energy to Manman. He then started, and Su Liyue began to moan. She can feel his energy entering her. Bai Luochen then ordered Su Liyue to transfer to Manman. Manman was worried, but Su Liyue told her not to worry since her master was great. Bai Luochen then started, and the radish entered the screen. It was a radish that Mi Meng offered to Chang Xiaolu after stealing it from Wu Zai. Chang Xiaolu could feel the strong spiritual energy and felt great after taking a bite. Mi Meng then explained the hierarchy to our horse girl. Chang Xiaolu couldn't believe a weak moth was trying to act strong. As thanks for the radish, Chang Xiaolu shared her immortal fate with Wu Zai and hoped that she could reach the realm of the Demon King. Soon after, Su Liyue woke up and discovered Manman was back to normal. Bai Luochen claimed that it was just her meridians and asked to give him time to rest. It was the first time his energy was drained. Manman doesn't know how to repay him for remodeling her body. Bai Luochen claimed that instead of spiritual qi, Manman should use corpse energy to nourish herself and recover her true form soon. Just then, a green light glowed in the area, and Manman claimed that a Demon King was born. Chang Xiaolu can't help but feel proud. Wu Zai appeared with a more mature-looking body. However, she felt uncomfortable having heavy melons. Mi Meng laughed at the flat-chested Chang Xiaolu. She then slapped Mi Meng's melons, and the moth finally felt the anger of the flat earthers. The rabbit got mad and attacked the moth, but Bai Luochen pulled her back. Mi Meng suddenly claimed that she was being bullied, and Wu Zai tackled her out of nowhere. Bai Luochen commended her improvement but reminded her that Mi Meng was her senior. He then told the rabbit to bring the moth inside and let the horse stay outside. Bai Luochen knew that the others were alarmed by the birth of a demon king. 5 instructors arrived at Azure Bird Peak after following a compass. Nishu reminded them about trespassing on the peak, and Yan Shangqing also agreed. Yu Wangxiang claimed that this was for the academy's safety. Jiang Heming kept blaming Bai Luochen for some reasons. Mun Xuanzhou can't help but feel disgusted by Jiang Heming. They then barged into the gates and discovered Bai Luochen chopping wood. Yu Wangxiang then asked about the demon king they sensed, and Bai Luochen called for Wu Zai. He apologized on behalf of his horse, who had just become a demon king. The other instructors started congratulating Bai Luochen, but Jiang Heming wanted to take Wu Zai away. He claimed that a low-level realm like Bai Luochen can't control a demon king if he runs amok. Yu Wangxiang agreed and asked Bai Luochen to hand over the horse. Since Bai Luochen said no, Yu Wangxiang suddenly prepared himself for a fight. The morning comes and Audi is slowly losing after his stand gets broken. Wu Zai then obliterated Audi and took on a JoJo pose while calling him weak. Bai Luochen commended his horse. Yu Wangxiang can't believe his demon king died just like that. He tried to fight back, but a huge flask suddenly dropped. Yan Shangqing stopped them and reminded them of their status as instructors. He called Yu Wangxiang a sorry loser. Mun Xuanzu reminded them that the headmaster was on his way back, and the sore loser went away first. Bai Luochen thanked the 3 instructors for doing justice. He claimed he was only protecting his family. Nishu laughed and started teasing Mun Xuanzhou. He and Yan Shangqing then left and wished the 2 childhood sweethearts luck. Since Wu Zai was sleepy, Bai Luochen let her rest. Mun Xuanzhou then pulled Bai Luochen aside and reminded him about their deal. She then pushed her face toward Bai Luochen, and the 2 shared a kiss. Mun Xuanzhou laughed at Bai Luochen's flustered face. She then asked how he felt, but Bai Luochen asked her to stop teasing him. False alarm, the 2 didn't kiss. Mun Xuanzhou wanted to kiss him. She then pulled out an invitation letter for a party, but Bai Luochen refused to go. However, Mun Xuanzhou was gone as soon as he said his words. A jealous Su Liyue appeared and sweetly hugged Bai Luochen. She asked him again to lead her since she had reached a bottleneck. Bai Luochen claimed that she didn't have energy left, but the disciple dragged her master inside. The next day, people couldn't believe the 4 Arts department was throwing a party just because they got to monopolize a secret realm for the first time. People talked badly about Mun Xuanzhou selling her body to other instructors to gain something. Yun Ruo heard them and got mad at the disciples. They almost started a fight, but Mun Xuanzhou appeared. However, they shouted more and claimed that there was favoritism. Mun Xuanzhou can see that the disciples took after their master, and wondered if their words were Jiang Heming's. Just then, He Xiangsheng agreed to punish those who badmouthed the 4 Arts department, but also suggested sharing 90% of the secret realm's resources with the rest of the academy. Yunro asked why everyone was trying to get what they worked hard for. He Xiangsheng then claimed that it was better for them to use the resources instead of the 4 Arts department using them to make useless instruments. Someone heard his words and strummed a zither. Everyone who badmouthed disciples got strangled with thin wires. Bai Luochen suddenly arrived, along with a woman claiming to be Ziling. Yunro got scared, but Ziling told them that she had only disguised herself before. Mun Xuanzhou wondered why a prisoner was outside. Bai Luochen assured them that he had already trained Ziling and found her qualities great for the 4 Arts department. Mun Xuanzhou accepted the explanation for now and asked Ziling to release the other disciples. Bai Luochen reminded her to take it easily next time. Ziling can still remember the torture that she experienced from Bai Luochen. After Jiang Heming's disciples got carried outside, the 2 instructors received a message from the headmaster. All instructors were ordered to go somewhere since there was trouble. Meanwhile, a group of people swarmed the entrance of the academy. Duju, an elder from the mountain sect, complained that their disciples were dying in the secret realm, unlike the academy's disciples. Qingju, Ju Mountain's sect master, claimed that the academy should share the resources. He also wanted Mun Xuanzhou as his wife. Jiang Heming tried to calm them down but got trash instead. He then told them to go straight to the 4 Arts department to complain. He knew Bai Luochen was also there and wanted to see him get mopped up by the masters from the mountain sect. Soon after, mountain sect disciples were assaulting the 4 Arts department's disciples one by one. Another huge disciple assaulted another disciple, but an arrow struck him. He started rotting until he died on the spot. The attack was from Bai Luochen, and he arrived with Mun Xuanzhou. Qingju got angry after seeing the reason why Mun Xuanzhou kept rejecting him. He He wondered why Moon Xuanzhou chose trash over him. Bai Luochen realized that Qingju was Moon Xuanzhou's suitor. Moon Xuanzhou claimed that they only met once, and after that, Qingju kept going for her, proposing to her over 200 times already. Bai Luochen called him a simp, and that infuriated Qingju. Qingju then claimed that he wouldn't let go of the Four Arts department now. Just then, Bai Luochen held Moon Xuanzhou and claimed that she had high standards. Duju tried to calm down his sect master when they came for the resources in the first place. Bai Luochen realized their real goal. Duju then accused the Four Arts department of murdering sect's disciples in the secret realm. Moon Xuanzhou claimed that his disciples were not fighters to begin with, and it was the Blissful Palace that ambushed them. Duju claimed that the Blissful Palace was already destroyed, and no one was to blame. Bai Luochen wanted to make sure not to let them know that it was his fault. Instead of arguing, Bai Luochen suggested a noble, and Qingju immediately agreed. He suggested having 5 disciples from both sides fight. Duju was worried over the rumors about Su Liyue, but Qingju claimed he got his own means. Qingju then suggested another request on top of getting resources if they win. He wanted to castrate Bai Luochen, and Bai Luochen agreed despite Moon Xuanzhou's strong refusal. The senior sister was worried that she wouldn't get to carry Bai Luochen's babies. Qingju suddenly got mad at the couple. Bai Luochen then added another request if he won. He wanted their heads off their necks. The first match between the Four Arts Department and Mountain Sect ended with the latter's disciple Yu Chu's win. His clanmates can't help but cheer for his victory. Qingzhou suggested Bai Luochen surrender, but our protagonist ignored him and ordered Yun Ruo to fight next. Qingzhou was obviously offended but didn't worry since he knew his Mountain Sect would win. Just then, Moon Xuanzhou and Su Liyue arrived, and the former informed them that the other instructors would come to watch. Qingzhou was happy to see his unrequited love and warned Moon Xuanzhou that her department would lose to his sect soon. Moon Xuanzhou didn't care for Qingzhou's words, since she trusted her disciples and proceeded to have a sweet time with Bai Luochen, eating lunch with him. Meanwhile, the second fight was ongoing, and Yun Ruo noticed how the Mountain Sect disciples only ripped the female disciples' clothes, showing how perverted they were. The opponent explained that he was only showing off the power of his spirit sword. Yun Ruo then got serious and used her instrument to create waves. The opponent's hard sword suddenly got flaccid, and the disciple panicked. Yun Ruo ended the match using a spiritual technique using her instrument, sending her opponent flying. The onlookers realized that Yun Ruo was using an imperial weapon. Everyone was in shock, including Qingzhou. Bai Luochen told him to chill since it was only an imperial weapon, and offered to give Qingzhou one of them if he asked. Duju immediately grabbed Qingzhou and tried to persuade him not to fall for Bai Luochen's words. He then told Qingzhou not to worry since he had a secret weapon, especially against female disciples. The arena suddenly got filled with horrid stench. A tall, ragged, and stinky man appeared and respectfully introduced himself as Li Haisheng. Yun Ruo noticed how strong Li Haisheng was, but wondered why he was stinky. Bai Luochen ordered Yun Ruo to back off. Yun Shi stepped in and told her sister to get some clothes. Li Haisheng didn't care about the swap and quickly attacked Yun Shi, who was introducing herself. Smelling how disgusting the stench was, Yun Shi wondered what the opponent's sect was cultivating. After Li Haisheng's punch, the disgusting smell suddenly got stronger and spread wider. Instructors appeared, and Jiang Heming wondered how the Four Arts Department could fix the odor in the academy. Nishu then gave some pouches to Su Liyue and asked her to place them around the corners to manage the filth around the area. He knew about the smelly cultivation known as the Filthy Dao. Changzhou was surprised and couldn't believe Duzhou made his disciple soak in the manure pit for 15 years after tricking him. After hearing the two intruders' conversation, Bai Luochen wondered if the problem could be solved by making Li Haisheng take a bath. He then asked for Nishu's opinions, and Nishu explained that anyone with that cultivation can fight equally with others. Yun Ruo also noticed that her sea of consciousness also got contaminated, and she was worried for her sister. Meanwhile, Yun Shi used a water-based technique against Li Haisheng, who was confident that his filth couldn't be easily removed from his body. He exclaimed that 15 years of filth is impossible to wash away. He then started spinning, and filth scattered around. Yun Shi's attacks were totally ineffective against Li Haisheng. Moon Xuanzhou suggested admitting defeat for that round, and Bai Luochen asked Su Liyue to go next. Jiang Heming exclaimed how useless women were, and that made Bai Luochen mad. He forcefully broke Jiang Heming's shield and made the sexist catch filth while laughing. "You, disgusting." Jiang Heming puked a lot and tried to pick a fight against Bai Luochen, but Yan Shangqing stopped him and just thought that he was unlucky to eat filth. Just then, everyone's attention shifted to the arena, wherein Su Liyue used a lightning strike on Li Haisheng. Qingzhou and Duzhou thought things were over after seeing their disciple's charred body. However, Li Haishen survived after using the lightning to temper his body. Instructor Yu Wangxiang can't believe someone tempered their body into an immaculate body in that situation. He claimed no one in the academy could stop Li Haisheng's strength. He shouted at Su Liyue to hurry up, and he defeated Li Haisheng. Instead of attacking, Su Liyue started cultivating. Yu Wangxiang called Bai Luochen's disciple stupid. Bai Luochen wondered if Yu Wangxiang also wanted to eat filth. Seeing them panic over Li Haisheng's new immaculate body, Duzhou used this chance to announce that he would make his disciples cultivate the filthy Dao to turn the academy into a panic. Yu Wangxiang exclaimed that they could do it too, and asked the other instructors to do the same. Zhang Heming and Yan Shangqing refused to do so. Mun Xuanzhou got worried, but Bai Luochen assured her that Su Liyue would win. He claimed that, compared to an immaculate body, his disciple is far more monstrous. Li Haisheng suddenly unleashed his upgraded spiritual power like Gon from Hunter x Hunter, and exclaimed that the filthy Dao was undefeatable and eternal. Confident, he approached Su Liyue, who had just brought out her immortal weapon. After claiming that he had become powerful, he flexed his muscles. They were bright enough to make Su Liyue wear sunglasses. Li Haisheng wondered if Su Liyue was scared of him. Su Liyue then pointed something below Li Haisheng, and he realized that he was missing something in his immaculate body. Su Liyue then told them to bring out her next opponent. The instructors were glad that Li Haisheng didn't succeed. Zhang Heming then exclaimed that dipping in filth and using instruments are the same useless things. Yunruo got offended and shouted at him. Zhang Heming tried to punish Yunruo, but Mun Xuanzhou stopped him with a smack to the head. She threatened Zhang Heming that she was ready to break the sect's rules for the sake of her disciple. Ha Wangxiang told Zhang Heming to stop quarreling with women and focus on the match. He can see that Li Haisheng has turned crazy. Su Liyue told him to stop since he would reach the point where he couldn't control his body. However, Li Haisheng went mad, blamed Su Liyue for everything and attacked her. Su Liyue easily countered with her lightning spirit skill and sent Li Haisheng flying. He got knocked down to the ground and lost his spiritual power. Duzhou appeared and announced that Li Haisheng was no longer a disciple of their sect. Li Haisheng asked for a second chance to get stronger again, but Duzhou mercilessly kicked the disciple away. After that commotion, a weak Li Haisheng walked through the woods. He found things unfair. He just wanted to cultivate. Blood started coming out of his eyes and mouth, and he fell to the ground. A person suddenly appeared and wondered if Li Haisheng wanted revenge. A man used a talisman on him, and Li Haisheng's body suddenly rejuvenated. He discovered that all of his wounds and injuries were gone. Bai Luochen then offered Li Haisheng a new tempered body for the sake of revenge. Li Haisheng wondered why Bai Luochen was helping him. The instructor then explained that he knew how Li Haisheng felt about being thrown away by others. Li Haisheng can't believe that someone skilled like Bai Luochen was being played by others. Bai Luochen turned his back on the disciple, feeling that Li Haisheng was not going for his revenge. After thinking that he didn't have other options, Li Haisheng called out to Bai Luochen and knelt. He respectfully requested the instructor's guidance. Bai Luochen claimed that Li Haisheng was worth teaching and ordered him to take off his pants. Since Li Haisheng was not reacting, Bai Luochen repeated his words. Li Haisheng freaked out, assuming that Bai Luochen swung another way. After inspecting, Bai Luochen told him to wear back his pants with a disgusted look. Bai Luochen then started inserting qi into Li Haisheng, who started moaning like a girl experiencing her first time. Back at the Four Arts Department's arena, Su Liyue faced off against Zhu Li from the Mountain Bamboo sect, who was known for her murder array. Su Liyue can't believe the opposing sect sent out a Golden Core disciple for a mere fight. Zhu Li claimed that it was for their victory, and activated her murder array, creating spirit dragons to attack Su Liyue. The instructors can see that Su Liyue would lose. They wondered where Bai Luochen went. Zhang Heming claimed that Bai Luochen would die in the end, after the battles. Mun Xuanzhou planned to use her body to have Bai Luochen stay away from harm. Bai Luochen suddenly appeared and told Mun Xuanzhou that her plan was unnecessary, since Su Liu hadn't admitted defeat yet. Nishu claimed that the murder array was far stronger than Su Liu's realm. Bai Luochen told them not to worry, since he knew that Su Liyue wouldn't lose to anyone. Su Liyue put up a barrier and she remained unscathed from the deadly attacks. Zhu Li suddenly got confused and continued attacking. However, using her immortal weapon's smaller version, Su Liyue charged forward and destroyed Zhu Li's murder array formation since she already fought against someone who created the formation array. The creator turned out to be her bestie, Manmen. Su Liyue then wondered if Zhu Li had other tricks. Zhou Li got pissed off and summoned a soul-binding array that Nushi quickly recognized to be a technique from the demonic sect. The instructors demanded that Qingju provide an explanation aligned with the demonic sect. Duju called them scared since they knew they were losing. Mun Xuanzhu got mad and told Bai Luochen to stop the fight. However, Bai Luochen told her to chill since the real fight would start soon. Everyone wondered why Bai Luochen was acting calm despite the danger his disciple was facing. Zhu Li laughed and wondered if Su Liyue could also break the ominous-looking array. Su Liyue was calm and called the attack worse than the one before. Zhu Li then went for the murder move. Su Liyue's head got cut off and rolled to the ground. Zhang Heming and Yu Wangxiang laughed over the assumption that they would now obtain Bai Luochen's properties with this loss. Mun Xuanzhou brought out her imperial weapon and confronted Duju and Qingzhou. Bai Luochen stopped her and claimed that the battle was not over. Zhu Li laughed at Su Liyue's decapitated head. However, a cocoon suddenly appeared, and Su Liyue came out of it. Seeing the head as an illusion, Zhu Li wondered if Su Liyue was also using demonic powers. But Su Liyue claimed that she used phantom powers. Zhu Li tried to do another attack, but Su Liyue's immortal weapon hit her against the wall, making her unable to continue to fight. Su Liyue won the fight, but the feeling of keeping Mi Meng's life-saving frozen silkworm inside her mouth was utterly disgusting. She brought out more of the gooey stuff from her mouth that looked like a discharge, and realized that it tasted like Mi Meng. Qingzhou was shocked by the sudden plot twist and complained that Su Liyue was cheating. Bai Luochen claimed that things were over and asked for them to fulfill their promise. He then brought out a talisman meant for murder. Qingzhou got mad and brought out his true powers, making the other instructors amazed. Nishu claimed that they wouldn't be able to stop Qingzhou even if they worked together. A gigantified Qingzhou attacked Bai Luochen. Mun Xuanzhu jumped and pushed Bai Luochen to save him. Seeing that Bai Luochen's face was buried between Mun Xuanzhu's melons, Qingzhou got mad out of jealousy. Bai Luochen called Qingzhou simple-minded and appeared in front of him. Bai Luochen went for an attack that screamed One Punch Man and obliterated Qingzhou, surprising the other instructors. Bai Luochen then glared at Duju. The elder started pleading for mercy, and Bai Luochen let him off the hook since more people wanted Duju's head. Mun Xuanzhu was surprised to see two Bai Luochens, but the one she was hugging was only a puppet. She claimed the puppet as hers as compensation for making her worried. Seeing Bai Luochen's power, Yu Wangxiang and Jiang Heming realized that they had already been surpassed. The two left in a hurry for various reasons. Yan Shangqing can't believe Bai Luochen is hiding the fact that he has already recovered his spiritual powers, making the headmaster worried along the way. However, Nu Wamse believed that Bai Luochen had his reasons. He claimed that it was a good thing for the sect to have the genius from 10 years ago. Bai Luochen commended Su Liyue, who also wanted a Bai Luochen puppet to use it for various reasons. Soon after, a group of investigators arrived at the ruins of the Blissful Palace, where clouds of miasma suddenly appeared. They could see how thick the miasma was, but they were mostly surprised by the massive hole. While checking more stuff, they noticed a huge hole above the thick clouds. Something bright suddenly appeared, and the three started hallucinating, seeing the Great Tao. The three can see the path to becoming immortal. The woman's protective artifact suddenly broke and snapped out of the hallucination. She discovered her teammates digging out their own organs while looking for the three corpses. She wondered what made the Immortal Alliance's secret treasure break. As the clouds continued splitting apart, the immortal Kai Shu suddenly appeared. She felt a familiar aura, but the heavenly Tao kept preventing her from descending. The woman from the investigation team tried to use her life-saving talisman to send a report back to the Alliance, but Kai Shu pulled it and claimed that she finally found her best friend, Manman. At Azure Bird Peak, Bai Luochen received a notification from the system. The system warned him that the heavenly Tao was spying on him, but the system masked Bai Luochen's presence by restricting his spiritual energy. It further warned Bai Luochen not to use his war axe outside of chopping firewood. He wondered how weak he had gotten, and the system explained that it had gone down to 10%, the same as the weak Li's realm. Bro, that's still strong. Since his axe was totally unusable, Bai Luochen asked for compensation. The system offered a new weapon, and a person wrapped in a talisman appeared. Bai Luochen freaked out and complained to the system. Just then, the binding started glowing, and Bai Luochen was surprised. Meanwhile, Manman and Su Liyue took a bath together. Manman called Su Liyue lucky to have a master who could simply give away a precious pill for recovery. She made Su Liyue swallow the pill, and her body started feeling hot. Manman then helped to ease Su Liyue's pain. Su Liyue kept moaning and exclaiming that something was coming. Outside, Chang Xiaoliu felt that Su Liyue had just made a breakthrough. However, the thunderstorms were weird. Bai Luochen was busy burying the talisman-covered body until he noticed something weird about Su Liyue's breakthrough. He can see how sinister the aura was. Just then, the protective formation broke, and Bai Luochen rushed toward where Su Liyue was to punch away the huge thunderstrike. Chang Xiaoliu, Mi Meng, and Wu Zai were also hit by the thunderstrikes. Chang Xiaoliu nervously wondered if it was really a Golden Core tribulation. With a bleeding fist, Bai Luochen ordered someone hiding to come out. Clouds made way, and Kai Shu called him interesting for blocking the thunderstrikes despite having a weak realm. Nai Luochen demanded an answer as to why she was attacking his disciple. Kai Shu smiled upon hearing that Su Liyue was his disciple, and wondered if he could protect his disciple from an immortal like her. Upon hearing that, Bai Luochen wondered if she was the one Manmin told him. Kai Shu laughed out loud upon knowing that Manmin could still remember her. Kai Shu instantly appeared in front of Bai Luochen and wondered if Manmin was doing well. Bai Luochen answered her question while attacking, but Kai Shu instantly reappeared behind him. Since the sisters were reunited, Kai Shu suggested going on a vacation, but Bai Luochen knew Kai Shu appeared to bother her reincarnation, Su Liyue. However, Kai Shu corrected him, saying that Su Liyue was one of her cores that needed to be eliminated. To remove hindrances, she used her immortal weapon to murder off Bai Luochen. The attack was strong enough to cut a part of the mountains. The system warned Bai Luochen to escape, but he couldn't leave his disciples. He can't believe his talismans were not enough to block Kai Shu's attack. The girls were in a panic, but Man offered to fight against Kai Shu so the others could escape. Bai Luochen told them to stay inside the talisman formation. He then called out the system and asked to use his war axe. The system silently gave Bai Luochen back his war axe and told him to be careful. He boosted his speed with a talisman and confronted Kai Shu. An explosion occurred, and Chang Xiaoliu called Bai Luochen crazy for going against an actual immortal. However, Kai Shu's shell was hard, so Bai Luochen activated Buddha Aspect, manifesting a huge Shura Bodhi. Using the huge Shura, Bai Luochen punched Kai Shu's shell and finally opened it. Kai Shu was impressed that someone from the mortal world could inflict pain on her. The system warned Bai Luochen because it noticed that Kai Shu was getting serious. Kai Shu attacked the system window to shut it up and told Bai Luochen to focus on their fight. Bai Luochen complied and brought out his Shura again. Kai Shu brought out some strange-looking tentacles and fired beams toward Bai Luochen. Just then, Kai Shu noticed that Bai Luochen was charging forward with his real body, while Shura was blocking her attack. Bai Luochen sliced off the tentacles, and Kai Shu couldn't help but feel impressed by Bai Luochen's weapon. Bai Luochen then wondered why an ascended immortal was trying to harm his disciple. Kai Shu confessed that she hadn't achieved immortality yet. After ascending, she discovered that so-called immortals were also occupying worlds in the same way as the mortal realm. It was not what she had expected and wanted more than the heavens. She wanted to see true heaven and become the laws of heaven and earth. Seeing Kai Shu's greediness, Bai Luochen gritted his teeth and swung his war axe as she told her to return to her heavenly realm. The war axe, but space itself, surprised Kai Shu. Bai Luochen grabbed her and threw her into the space. He gasps for air as the cracks finally close. However, Kai Shu's hands appeared and ripped apart space, claiming that she could also do the same thing. With Kai Shu's tremendous spiritual power, the system warned that the heavenly channel had been damaged and was now connected to the mortal realm. Something gooey came out of the skies and covered the whole Azure Bird Peak. The girls got on guard and protected Su Liyue. Just then, a thunder strike targeted Mi Meng, but Bai Luochen blocked the attack for her. Bai Luochen wondered what crazy acts Kai Shu did in the heavenly realm. As he wondered what happened, the system informed him that the heavenly channel would devour the whole mortal realm anytime soon. Kai Shu was ecstatic to see that her heavenly way was manifesting, fusing the two realms. She then attacked Bai Luochen with more weird tentacles. Bai Luochen activated a skill before getting swallowed by the attack. He crushed the attack from the inside, and the flesh scattered around Azure Bird Peak. While the girls were protected by a barrier, more weird things came out of the ground. Manmin reminded everyone that protecting Su Liyue was their priority. Another thunderstrike came, but it was only Mi Meng who was being targeted. Well, she was a lightning and water-attributed demon emperor. Man hoped that their master could resolve the situation as soon as possible. Meanwhile, Bai Luochen was clearing out more of Kai Shu's attacks, but the system warned him of overusing his spiritual power. He just wanted to protect his current home. Angered, Bai Luochen attacked Kai Shu while exclaiming that he would teach her the real heavenly way. Using his Shura, Bai Luochen tried to seal the heavens. Kai Shu can't believe a mortal has that much spiritual power. She then realized that it was the Pangu axe of creation that was giving tremendous power to Bai Luochen. Bai Luochen successfully closed the cracks, but his war axe broke in the process. Things were over for now. Golden lights fall from the sky. Chang Xiaoliu exclaimed that this was something that no one had ever experienced before. Meanwhile, Su Liyue told Manman that she couldn't hold out anymore. Manman started panicking, and Bai Luochen arrived on time. Manman smacked Chang Xiaoliu to calm her down. Bai Luochen checked on Su Liyue and brought out a healing talisman. He claimed that Su Liyue was not feeling well since she missed the final step of her tribulation process. Man wondered where they could find one. Bai Luochen claimed that they needed someone who was severely contaminated by the heavenly thunder. Mi Meng suggested holding down whoever they were, but everyone started staring at her with a weird look. She trembled in fear as another thunderstrike hit her. Su Liyue's core finally calmed down, and she slowly opened her eyes. She can't believe her core was completed. She wondered where they got the last thunder and discovered Mi Meng fried in the corner. Bai Luochen ordered them to clean up the peak while he reported to the Deacon Hall. Meanwhile, in a heavenly realm, a hysterical Kai Xiu was excited to show deaths to Su Liyue, Man, and Bai Luochen. Afterward, Bai Luochen kept grumbling about the amount of money he needed. While digging up the sealed body he buried before, the system notified him to meet up with a new disciple that he needed to accept. Suddenly, a blue bar appeared, and the system informed him that it was the countdown before his new disciple died. Of course, Bai Luochen freaked out. Back at the Azure Bird Peak, while Su Liyue was taking care of Mi Meng, Bai Luochen communicated with them using a spirit bird and told them to go to the main peak's teleportation gate. He told them to find their new junior with him. In Wulin City's Liu family, soldiers were busy going on a sortie. A master told them to delay things as much as they could so they could be rewarded. The master hoped to buy more time before the Immortal Alliance came. His niece got scared and wanted to bail out. However, Liu Hengzhong warned his niece that murderers were out to murder her. The niece blamed herself for breaking an arranged marriage. Nalan Duoduo doesn't want to drag down her uncle with her. She wanted to fight to the death. Liu Hengzhong told her not to blame herself, and their family already knew how vicious her marriage partner was. He told her not to worry since the Immortal Alliance would come to protect them. Just then, men from the Blood Sword Palace appeared, holding the heads of the Immortal Alliance's members. Liu Hengzhong cried his eyes out, witnessing the heads of his young disciples. He wondered why the Blood Sword Palace kept murdering members of the Nalan family. One of them claimed that it was for their lord's entertainment and sliced Liu Hengzhong's face. Meanwhile, Bai Luochen and his disciples are still on the way with his flying car. While the two disciples were fighting over Bai Luochen's fruits, the system gave Bai Luochen a vague description of Nalan Duoduo, who was engaged to the Xiao family's Xuping. Xuping suddenly suffered from cultivation deviation, and Nalan Duoduo used this chance to break off the engagement. Xuping went mad and cultivated again like crazy while promising impossible-sounding words. He became the new palace lord and massacred the Nalan family members so he could capture Nalan Duoduo for himself. While thinking that the story sounded familiar, the system warned him that Nalan Duoduo was nearing her death. Bai Luochen gritted his teeth and activated something on his flying car. Tentacles came out to hold the two girls in place, and the flying car accelerated with tremendous speed. Nalan Duoduo was cornered by the men from the Blood Sword Palace, who told her to follow them obediently. They threatened her with murdering the remaining members of the Liu family in the nearby residence. Nalan Duoduo didn't have a choice but to comply. However, one of the two men activated his demonic powers and fired them toward the nearby residence. The other man also used demonic powers to knock out Nalan Duoduo. Screams echoed inside the residence and blood splattered everywhere. Nalan Duoduo called them monsters and activated a self-destructing spell. However, her spiritual power suddenly depleted, and she fell to the ground. She could only cry with despair, while the white-robed man sealed her with ominous ropes and talismans. The black-robed man returned with bloody footsteps. The white-robed man reminded the other to keep his cravings for blood to a minimum, since the Blood Sword Palace didn't starve him in the first place. Just before they got to leave, they noticed something arriving from the skies. They quickly dodged the area where something crashed. The white-robed man wondered who dared to obstruct them. Bai Luochen appeared without caring where they came from and asked them to put down Nalan Duoduo. He promised to give them peaceful deaths if the two complied. The white-robed man, Ming Shi, wondered if Bai Luochen was going to steal from them, and our protagonist confirmed that he was. With a flick of his finger and spiritual power, the restricted Nalan Duoduo was taken away from Ming Shi. Ming Shi tried to get her back, but Bai Luochen forcefully removed the ominous constraints from Nalan Duoduo. Ming Shi tried to compete with Bai Luochen by struggling. However, Bai Luochen's spiritual power was far stronger and destroyed all of Nalan Duoduo's constraints, including her clothes. The two men were shocked. On the other hand, Mi Meng was impressed by her new junior sister's figure. Su Liyue got worried, but Bai Luochen easily caught Nalan Duoduo in his arms and asked his disciples to take care of the two robed men. He reminded them to leave them alive and left with Nalan Duoduo. Mingxia panicked and brought out his blood sword. He ordered the black-robed man to bring out his blood double. Knowing that Su Liyue was only in the golden core stage, Mingxia attacked her, but Su Liyue easily dodged his attack. However, the splattered blood from his blood sword also exploded on command and tried to swallow Su Liyue. The black-robed man activated his shadow blood copy to create clones of themselves, but Mi Meng used her ice silk to prevent the clones from escaping. The real robed men were shocked that not one of their doubles got to escape. Just then, a flash of lightning appeared out of nowhere, indicating that Su Liyue escaped from Mingxi's technique. Su Liyue used a new technique called Moonwheel Thunder, and a lightning attack came out of the ground, obliterating the robed men from the Bloodsword Palace. Mi Meng reminded herself not to fight with Su Liyue over food again. Meanwhile, Bai Luochen was diagnosing Nalan Duoduo and found out that her dantian was sealed off by blood qi. Nalan Duoduo groaned in pain and woke up, seeing Bai Luochen up close. She tried to slap Bai Luochen, but our protagonist stopped her hand. She can't believe a so-called savior ripped apart her clothes. Bai Luochen told her not to move around and continued treating her dantian, making Nalan Duoduo moan in the process. He told Nalan Duoduo not to move around too much since it was not a small matter. To have blood qi seal one's dantian, Nalan Duoduo wondered why Bai Luochen was helping her. Bai Luochen ignored her question and told her that she was good to go. He introduced himself as the talisman instructor from Qinghong Academy. Nalan Duoduo couldn't believe the known trash instructor from the academy was recruiting her as his disciple. Bai Luochen was offended and continued repairing Nalan Duoduo's dantian. The repair was finished, and Su Liyue wondered what to do with the men they captured. Bai Luochen stomped on the two, who were restrained by ice silkworm threads. Nalan Duoduo was shocked that the two men were easily defeated by Bai Luochen's disciple, who was only in the golden core stage. Su Liyue was confronted and couldn't believe that a naked person shamelessly clung to her master. Bai Luochen claimed Nalan Duoduo hasn't agreed to join yet. Su Liyue advised Nalan Duoduo to take this once-in-a-lifetime chance to become Bai Luochen's disciple. Nalan Duoduo noticed that Mi Meng was a high-level demon that could take human form. She wondered how a demon like Mi Meng followed a crippled trash like Bai Luochen. She gritted her teeth as she recalled Xu Ping. She approached Bai Luochen and begged to be his disciple. Bai Luochen quickly accepted his second disciple and gave her the usual 2 books. Nalan Duoduo then confessed that she was suffering from qi deviation and couldn't cultivate anymore. Bai Luochen claimed that he could easily destroy the Bloodsword Palace for her. Nalan Duoduo thanked him, but Bai Luochen wondered if her heart's rage would subside if someone else took revenge for her. Bai Luochen lectured her that cultivation was about the purity of the heart and clarity of thoughts, and claimed that this was a challenge predestined for Nalan Duoduo. Nalan Duoduo freaked out and exclaimed that Xu Ping was far stronger than her. Anyone can murder Xu Ping for her, as long as he dies. Bai Luochen forcefully calmed Nalan Duoduo down, and told her that Xu Ping was nothing around him. He wanted Nalan Duoduo to take the revenge personally. She wondered if she could do it, and Bai Luochen brought out a Sawed blade for her first lesson. The third disciple wondered what to do, and Bai Luochen explained that grievances and debt should be paid accordingly first, in the most horrible way, while pointing at the restrained 2 men. Without hesitation, Nalan Duoduo decided to do it. At the Bloodsword Palace, 2 disciples were talking about Nalan Duoduo and her assets. Just then, the 2 were swiftly decapitated and murdered. 2 women were sneaking around with a hidden spirit talisman, but they had half an hour left to stay hidden. The 2 sisters from the Mo family, Mo Shi and Mo Ran, were risking their lives to get access to an abode owned by a mysterious man. Mo Shi was worried since they couldn't fight someone on the nascent soul stage and above. Mo Ran claimed that was the reason they needed the hidden spirit talisman. The 2 continued to move on, but the mountain's protective formation was being activated. They can see that someone is invading the sect. A familiar flying car appeared. Aboard the car, Su Liyue was forcing something into Nalan Duoduo, with Mi Meng complaining on the side since it was her supplies. Bai Luochen reminded Nalan Duoduo about the talisman he gave her, and went down first while recalling that Xu Ping was only in the nascent soul stage. Everyone in the Bloodsword Palace panicked upon knowing that there was an infiltrator. Xu Ping prepared to draw his sword. A voice came out of his ring and told Xu Ping to bring out his blood puppet with a panicking voice. Xu Ping wondered what made his great ancestor fear that much. The great ancestor was not sure, but he could sense that the infiltrator was only in the revolving light stage. However, that so-called weak infiltrator smashed the palace with one punch. Seeing the hole in the ground, Bai Luochen realized he had used too much strength. He suddenly sensed someone in the nascent soul stage survive the one-hit massacre. Seeing the huge aura, Mo Ran suggested to her sister that she watch the fight. Mo Shi told her sister not to get involved after barely surviving the impact. Mo Ran told her not to worry, since she still had a 3-star talisman she stole from their grandfather. She was excited to know if Xu Ping would die, and decided to hide their chi first to watch the fight. However, Bai Luochen can clearly sense them, and has also figured out that the sisters are from the Mo family. He ignored them for now, and focused on not letting Xu Ping escape the area. While being protected by a blood technique, Xu Ping asked his great ancestor why he was not escaping. The great ancestor claimed that their chi was already recognized and that it was better to solve things through bargaining instead. Xu Ping asked for his identity, and Bai Luochen introduced himself and his position. Mo Ran was shocked to know that he was a crippled instructor. She knew about Bai Luochen's history of sealing a portal from the demon world and slaughtering all the demons inside, crippling him in the end. However, Mo Ran can see otherwise. It turns out Mo Ran was one of Bai Luochen's admirers and decided to enter the academy. Xu Ping then wondered why someone from the academy attacked the Blood Sword Palace when there was no bad blood between the two. Bai Luochen claimed that the academy had nothing to do with it, and his disciple only wanted to take revenge on him. He told Xu Ping that he would let him live if he defeated his disciple. Nalan Duoduo appeared out of nowhere. Xu Ping glared at her and asked Bai Luochen again about the conditions he just mentioned. He asked if Bai Luochen would interfere if he severely injured Nalan Duoduo, but Bai Luochen didn't want to ruin the personal revenge Nalan Duoduo wanted to take. Xu Ping couldn't help but laugh. He then told Nalan Duoduo to bring it on. Bai Luochen reminded Nalan Duoduo to use the treasure he gave her wisely. As Nalan Duoduo left, Su Liyue expressed her worries since Xu Ping was in the nascent soul stage, basically sending the third disciple to her death. Despite Bai Luochen telling them not to worry, Mimeng wondered if Bai Luochen would really not take any action when an accident happened. Bai Luochen glared at Mimeng and reminded her that he didn't take her with him for a vacation. Just then, Su Liyue shouted upon seeing Nalan Duoduo get constricted by Xu Ping's blood puppet. Xu Ping swore to humiliate her in front of Bai Luochen, the same as the situation that he experienced before. Nalan Duoduo claimed that it would be Xu Ping who would suffer, and she activated a self-explosion talisman. Nalan Duoduo exploded, and Xu Ping couldn't believe that she chose suicide to escape the torment. However, Nalan Duoduo appeared out of nowhere and stated that she would take revenge for the family members that Xu Ping massacred. Mimeng was impressed that Nalan Duoduo took the pain from using the technique. She couldn't believe her hard-earned silkworm cocoon burned just like that, but Bai Luochen promised to compensate her. Su Liyue got worried since Nalan Duoduo already used her trump card. But Bai Luochen told her that Nalan Duoduo could only unlock her potential after constant life-and-death battles. He told them to just watch the fight. Packed to the fight, Nalan Duoduo made an explosion once again. Xu Ping's blood puppet was almost depleted and he couldn't hold it much longer. She was down on her last self-explosion talisman. However, she doesn't have enough spiritual power to activate the detonation. Xu Ping noticed that and fully activated his blood puppet to bring over the weak Nalan Duoduo. He told her that she couldn't avenge anyone and started showing her father's dead appearance. Xu Ping claimed his blood puppet was made up of Nalan family members and made Nalan Duoduo's father's head explode. Nalan Duoduo was in despair as more family members started whispering her name. The other girls tried to save Nalan Duoduo, but Bai Luochen stopped them. He wanted them to trust her and him. Nalan Duoduo fainted, and Xu Ping used this chance to finish her off. Surprisingly, Nalan Duoduo woke up, and Xu Ping's hand started burning and melting. Nalan Duoduo grew wings, and a toxic cloud covered her proximity. Xu Ping quickly backed off, and the Great Ancestor claimed that Nalan Duoduo awakened the profound Yin Toxin Meridian. Xu Ping was currently weak against it. Angered over the loss of his hand, Xu Ping attacked Nalan Duoduo with another blood sword technique. Nalan Duoduo dodged the attack and punched Xu Ping, enough to make his face smash. He tried to ask for his Great Ancestor's help, but Nalan Duoduo continued smashing his head until the Great Ancestor's ring was left. The Great Ancestor then used a blood puppet to attack Nalan Duoduo, but Bai Luochen got her back. The blood puppet suddenly merged with the clouds in the sky, and Mo Ran claimed that a heavenly phenomenon was happening. The blood sword's ancestor, Xue Wuchen, appeared from the skies. He was angered over the destruction of his mountains and the death of his disciple. Bai Luochen left his clone to protect the girls. Xue Wuchen confronted Bai Luochen, who was totally unfazed by his sudden appearance. He activated a technique, and several annoying puppets appeared to grab Xue Wuchen. The puppets activated self-destructing talismans, and Mo Ran can't help but fangirl over Bai Luochen. A puppet flew toward them, and Mo Ran inspected it. Seeing how impressive the carvings were, she decided to bring the puppet back home for their talisman experts to use as learning material. In tatters, a humiliated Shui Wuchen attacked Bai Luochen. Bai Luochen told him to calm down and activated a 4-star sacred talisman. Shui Wuchen was surprised and reacted late, being sliced to pieces and falling to the ground. The fight was over, but Mi Meng noticed that the old bag was still alive like a cockroach. Shu Wuchen's willpower projection appeared and beheaded Mi Meng in exchange for the death of Shu Ping. He felt victorious, but Mi Meng's head was alive and talking. Bai Luochen challenged the old man to murder the undestroyable Mi Meng, who just used another silkworm cocoon for resurrection. Mi Meng challenged him to a fight, but Shui Wuchen fled while swearing to take revenge. Bai Luochen then called the Mo sisters, who quickly disabled their stealth talismans and respectfully greeted Bai Luochen. Bai Luochen told the two to stop being formal since he was taken care of by their family head when he was younger. It turns out the sisters' grandfather was a longtime customer of Bai Luochen for talismans. He then asked why the two were in the Bloodsword Palace. Mo Ran exclaimed that she would like to take revenge on Shu Ping for slaughtering her best friend's family. However, Bai Luochen took care of things for her. Bai Luochen then asked them to take care of the aftermath of the event and send regards to their grandfather. Mo Shi then told her sister that Bai Luochen was a tall target for her and she should forget about him. On the way back home, the system rewarded Bai Luochen for completing the task. But the reward items were obviously for Nalan Duoduo. Just then, an academy messenger appeared and informed Bai Luochen to take a mission in Tianxing City. He quickly turned to the other direction, ignoring Mi Meng's complaints. Back at the academy, the headmaster Li Guangqi received the report that Bai Luochen was on the way to the Lin family's banquet. He was glad that Bai Luochen would attend, but Tu Wangsheng from law enforcement was worried about sending the academy's shame. Li Guangqi then mentioned the strange changes and leaks of Heavenly Dao from Azure Bird Peak, making the others believe that Bai Luochen had a breakthrough. However, Li Guangqi believed that Bai Luochen's strength should be no less than his. He believed the elders could now relax since their juniors were now dependable. If the elders object, they should consult Bai Luochen. Just then, Instructor Nishu reminded Li Guangqi that they hadn't released the news yet about Bai Luochen's recovery. The old man knew things would go south for Bai Luochen's mission. Meanwhile, at the Lin residence, Patriarch Lin Zhenan and his eldest son Lin Yuanji took a walk outside. Lin Yuanji then noticed Nalan Duoduo and Su Liyue talking nearby. He wondered which family they were from. Just then, Bai Luochen appeared and claimed that they were his disciples. He congratulated Lin Zhenan for their ancestor breaking through to the body recalming stage. Lin Zhenan was glad to finally meet Bai Luochen. He then asked a caretaker to find Bai Luochen a good room while waiting for the banquet to start. People started talking about how trashy Bai Luochen was, and how Nalan Duoduo was the only survivor of her family. After Bai Luochen's group left, Lin Zhenan expressed his dismay because Qinghong Academy sent someone like Bai Luochen. Lin Yuanji then claimed that Bai Luochen came to them to ask for help instead of representing the academy. He heard the news of Nalan Duoduo being chased by the Bloodsword Palace. Lin Zhenan told his son to be direct, and Lin Yuanji shamelessly exclaimed that Bai Luochen might ask him to marry Nalan Duoduo. He wanted her and Su Liyue for himself. However, Lin Zhenan claimed that being enemies with the Bloodsword Palace was troublesome. His son reminded him that the Patriarch was now stronger. Lin Zhenan then decided to use this as a chance to absorb the Bloodsword Palace. He told his son to do what he wanted. Lin Yuanji swore to make Nalan Duoduo his wife. Meanwhile, Bai Luochen and the girls were busy cleaning their accommodations. Su Liyue claimed that the place was better than the disciples' rooms. As a former rich lady, Nalan Duoduo was unimpressed upon hearing the comparison, and Bai Luochen's comment made it worse. Nalan Duoduo then wondered why they were given poor treatment despite representing a prestigious academy's famous department. Bai Luochen corrected her, saying that the talisman department was only the face of the academy in the past. Suddenly, Bai Luochen brought out 2 treasures and gave them to Nalan Duoduo. They are the scriptures of Lunar Poison and Lunar Slick Hope. Nalan Duoduo got worried that she would undress again, but Bai Luochen asked to trust him this time. She suddenly fell and claimed that her abdomen area was feeling hot. Bai Luochen told her that her awakened body needed a golden core as he tried to suppress Nalan Duoduo. Bai Luochen then asked Su Liyue to wake up Mi Meng and ask for her demon core. Despite her refusal, Bai Luochen bullied her to spit out her demon core. Bai Luochen swore to return it and make Mi Meng achieve the Emperor realm in the future. Bai Luochen planned to forge the demon core into a golden core. Nalan Duoduo swallowed the demon core, and Bai Luochen started giving her instructions. She suddenly felt her sea of consciousness full, and feathers suddenly burst out of her back. Bai Luochen claimed that Nalan Duoduo's spiritual power just stabilized, but her actual realm was still the beginning of the fusion realm. Su Liyue sighed, thinking that a new disciple would catch up to her. Just then, someone informed them that the Tianxing Festival would start. The group attended the festival, which had fireworks display and flying lanterns. Su Liyue can't believe she missed this kind of thing in her past life. Just then, Nalan Duoduo started crying after remembering her family, and Bai Luochen consoled her. Mi Meng warned Su Liyue that her master would be taken away from her. However, she knew that a master's attention depended on the progress of the disciple, and recalled her past life's master. She invited Bai Luochen and Nalan Duoduo to make a wish together. They wished that Azure Bird Peak would always be peaceful. Nalan Duoduo told her family that she took revenge for them, and wished that they lived happily in the heavens. Their lantern suddenly Bai Luochen used a talisman to give it a boost, and he was sure that it would reach the heavens for sure. He told his girls to fly more lanterns since he had more talismans. The group totally disrupted the lantern event. Back at Azure Bird Peak, Chang Xiaoyu prayed to the moon god too, and Wu Zai joined her. By the way, the lanterns were stuck on the moon. Next day at the Lin family's court, people wondered why the Lin ancestor was not showing up yet. Just then, Lin Jianan arrived at the court while holding a baby. Everyone was shocked when he called the baby his father. The baby was the Lin family's ancestor, Lin Cheng, who just achieved the beginning stage of the recombining realm. He gave out orders to start the banquet, and Lin Jianan told everyone to pay his father some respects and gifts. However, the guests felt awkward greeting a baby. Lin Cheng glared at them for looking down on him. The crowd suddenly felt heavy pressure, and they were forced to greet Lin Cheng in his baby form. Meanwhile, Nalan Duoduo was worried that they were on the far end of the banquet. Bai Luochen didn't care much. Su Liyue can't believe someone was acting proud upon reaching such a stage, but Bai Luochen corrected her, saying that only a few hundred can achieve such a feat in the South Realm. Just then, a man laughed at them. He can't believe trash like Bai Luochen can comment like that. Yazin appeared while cursing at Bai Luochen. Bai Luochen put on a blank face and wondered who Yazin was. Yazin exclaimed that he was humiliated by Bai Luochen before because of a woman. His condition worsened after his fit of rage. Bai Luochen finally recognized him. Yazin swore to defeat Bai Luochen, but Bai Luochen was more concerned for Yazan's condition and offered food. Yazan smacked the drumstick away and exclaimed that it would be Bai Luochen who would be humiliated this time. Su Liyue got mad at Yazin for insulting her master. Yazin tried to attack her, but Bai Luochen caught his hand fan using chopsticks and told her not to mess with the youngsters. A servant then came to tell Yazin that the Lin family head was looking for him. While seeing Yazin leave, Bai Luochen realized that he was not really welcomed by the Lin family. Just then, the system showed a task to defeat incoming enemies and make Bai Luochen's name known. Bai Luochen used a sensory talisman and noticed that something good would happen soon. Meanwhile, Yazin told Lin Cheng about how Bai Luochen ruined his cultivation and made our protagonist sound like a villain. He asked Lin Cheng for help for revenge, but Lin Jianan got mad for requesting his father's help for private matters. Lin Cheng told him to calm down and promised to share with him how to break through. He received a book from Kai Shu that helped him achieve his current stage. He then claimed that it would be troublesome to mess with Li Guangqi's faculty members. Just then, they noticed their family's grand formation was being attacked. A giant snake with a masked man on top of it appeared. With the snake's glare, everyone suddenly felt weak due to the extreme pressure. Nalan Duoduo wondered if the attackers would break through soon. Bai Luochen claimed that it won't be long. Zhao Shi, a Lin family follower, called them country hicks and claimed that no one can ever break a barrier that was set up by a saint-level talisman master. Bai Luochen and Su Liyue ignored his words, and Nalan Duoduo realized how hard it was for her master and senior sister. Bai Luochen then noticed that it was time and the formation broke. Zhao Shi freaked out, not because of the broken formation, but because of the man riding on top of the snake. The green snake young master. The masked man landed on the ground and the snake got smaller. He stared at Bai Luochen, who soon told him to find a seat in the banquet. The masked man ignored him and left while the two demons hissed at each other. Su Liyue noticed how strong the masked man was. Seeing Nalan Duoduo scared, he asked her if she knew about the masked man. She explained that the masked man was a known Tribulation Peak evil cultivator from the Langfang Sea region 200 years ago. A lot of families made an alliance to bring him down, including some Nalan family members, but none of them made it back. Bai Luochen can see that Lin family is in big trouble. Nalan Duoduo told him it was impossible since the Green Snake young master was already long dead. She heard that he was murdered by the Lin family ancestor back then. Bai Luochen found the revenge drama cool and decided to watch the show while bringing out top-graded coconuts and melons. Inside the pavilion, the masked man then greeted Lin Cheng. Lin Cheng freaked out since he watched how the Green Snake young master got chopped up by his ancestor. The masked man was impressed that such a kid was smart. Lin Zhenin corrected him that the baby was Lin Cheng. However, the Green Snake young master ignored Lin Zhenin's words and asked to bring out the old man. Lin Cheng got mad and worried at the same time. Xiaoxian wondered why Lin Cheng was freaking out. Lin Cheng then gave him his token and asked him to request for help from the big sex. Yi Zian went out and realized that the masked man was stronger than anyone after seeing Lin Cheng's reactions. He thought of asking the masked man to help him take revenge on Bai Luochen. He crushed the token out of madness. Meanwhile, Bai Luochen and his disciples enjoyed the show while using stealth talismans. Nalan Duoduo was worried that they might get discovered, but Su Liyue believed her master's skills with the talismans. Bai Luochen reminded her not to mess up and be overconfident. Just then, the masked man asked Lin Cheng to kneel. Lin Cheng got offended and claimed that the righteous sex would murder the Green Snake young master once again. Ye Zin appeared while bad-mouthing Lin Cheng. Lin Cheng then attacked Ye Zian, but the Green Snake young master saved him. He wanted to hear out Ye Zian. Ye Zian then presented a gift to the Green Snake young master. The gift was a 500-year-old dragon saliva wood that the Green Snake loved. Seeing how happy his pet was, the Green Snake young master promised to let Ye Zian live. Ye Zian tried to leave to get some refreshments for his new master. Lin Cheng told Ye Zian that traitors like him don't live long. Bai Luochen asked Nalan Duoduo for one of her poison feathers and combined it with the Flood Dragon's scales and Earth Immortal Corpse's chi. He gave it to Ye Zian, who quickly felt a power-up. Ye Zian suddenly reached the soul separation stage. He laughed out loud since he was now stronger than the Lin family's young master. Lin Zhenin got worried about the sudden event, but Lin Cheng calmed him down since the Green Snake young master was watching them. The masked man then planned to use Ye Zian. Ye Zian proudly showed his new power to Lin Zhenin, who decided to cut off their relationship as master and disciple. Just then, Lin Yuanji appeared after banging a lady. Ye Zian quickly ran toward him. Lin Zhenin ran toward his son despite being bitten by the Green Snake. Ye Zian went for the murder move, but Lin Zhenan hugged his son to protect him. The masked man was touched to witness such family drama. However, Yi Zian was successful in beheading Lin Yuanji. Enraged by the loss of his grandson's life, Lin Cheng changed his appearance by growing his body bigger and attacked the masked man. The masked man then ordered the Green Snake to constrict Lin Cheng. While watching the event unfold, Nalan Duoduo told Bai Luochen that the Lin family was still a righteous sect despite their arrogance, and they should help them. Su Liyue claimed that helping is not always the right thing to do between two parties with a history. However, Bai Luochen decided to help the Lin family and ordered his disciples to keep the Lin family members alive. Meanwhile, Lin Cheng continued receiving hits and poison from the masked man and his Green Snake. He swore to die for the good guys and never bow down to someone evil. The masked man then removed his mask and called him ridiculous. He reminded him about Lin Cheng's daughter being forced to marry someone for money. The masked man and the daughter ran away to escape, but Lin Cheng murdered them with no remorse. Lin Cheng quickly recognized the masked man as Ji Shenran. Since he was now a follower of the Green Snake, he swore to help it become a dragon after feeding off the souls of everyone from Tianxing City. Lin Cheng wondered why Ji Shenran was not worried about heaven's karma. Ji Shenran didn't care much since he proclaimed himself as evil, unlike those from the righteous sects who called themselves good despite doing hidden evil actions. Lin Cheng didn't have a choice but to use his life-risking move. He broke the void and attacked Ji Shenran from behind. However, the poison he received moments ago started acting up and failed his attack. Ji Shenran claimed it was soul poison from the Soul Sect, and tried to claim the old man's life. But Lin Cheng was replaced by a Bai Luochen puppet. Ji Shenran was surprised. Bai Luochen also sealed the Green Snake. Ji Shenran noticed that he was inside a domain and wondered how Bai Luochen was able to pull off such a move. Ji Shenran started aging because of Bai Luochen's time acceleration in his domain. Bai Luochen continued lecturing Ji Shenran. Just then Ji Shenran started glowing. Su Liyue can sense the aura of a demon from outside the domain. Ji Shenran suddenly became a huge demon that was invulnerable to spiritual power, due to different buffs from demonic and evil sects, and attacked Bai Luochen. Since spiritual power is ineffective, Bai Luochen used pure physical force and destroyed Ji Shenran in one punch. The demon's destroyed body was scattered around the area. The system congratulated Bai Luochen for completing the task. Bai Luochen then noticed something. A small demon tried escaping, but Bai Luochen quickly destroyed it. He picked up a familiar-looking treasure from Ji Shenran's corpse. Su Liyue noticed that the demonic aura was gone. She then wondered when Nalan Duoduo would finish the fight. With the support of Mi Meng, Nalan Duoduo faced off against Ye Zian and told him to be fast with their fight since her sister was waiting. Ye Zian was wondering why the poison he got from the green snake young master was not affecting the girls. He then used his strength to fight instead, but Nalan Duoduo dodged his attack and went for a counterattack. However, Ye Zian was gone from their sight. Su Liyue can see how the demon core could enhance her junior sister's body, but Mi Meng disagrees with letting her borrow her core. Yi Zian continued running away, but Bai Luochen greeted him and ended Yi Zian's life. Bai Luochen then regrouped with the girls and showed them the treasure he picked up from Ji Shenran. Mi Meng recognized it as her treasure and wondered if he was returning it to her. Bai Luochen wondered where it came from. Mi Meng recalled finding it on the South Seas where people were offering something to it. She found it interesting and borrowed it. Bai Luochen recalled sealing the entrance back then and wondered what the Soul Sect was doing with demons. The group went home for now. Back at the Azure Bird Peak, Bai Luochen ordered Su Liyue to fetch Ziling from the Four Arts Department for help. He also reminded them that they would go on a trip. Just then, they noticed firewood floating around the peak. It was Chang Xiaoyu being out of focus. Wu Zai was worried since her sister had not eaten much lately. Bai Luochen then entered and wondered what was happening. He looked for Manman, and Chang Xiaolu started asking him to help her boss. Suddenly, they hear Ziling's voice claiming that Manman's condition is worsening. Chang Xiaoliu and Su Liyue quickly enter the house and can see Manman unconscious. Bai Luochen can see that it was a soul separation. Ziling, who was overly conscious of him, freaked out. Ziling explained that Manman's current body was rejecting her soul. For now, she temporarily used soul-binding crystals to avoid Manman's body. She claimed that a lot of souls were needed, and she used the Academy's livestock souls for now. Upon hearing that, Chang Xiaoliu's expression changed, and she tried to go out. Bai Luochen stopped her. The rabbit girl told him to get out of the way, or she would murder him. Bai Luochen hugged her and told her not to do what she was thinking. He told her to leave everything to him. A blinding light appeared and Manman appeared as a small blue spirit. Comment below if you would like to see the next part.